G-Show Land, and welcome to another episode of the G-Show Podcast. I am G1, and this is the Godzilla Block Party. Oh, I didn't try to do nothing funny there in the beginning. I just let the intro rock. Why? Because this is Godzilla's 65th anniversary podcast. That is right. Yes, we missed it by a couple days. It doesn't matter. Okay, we missed it by a week. I can't lie. I will just say that when the three main people of the Godzilla Block Party have birthdays all within the same, week or two, and then the big guy's birthdays, they're like right there too. There's conflicts of interest. Like our schedule's conflicted. So apologies. We will talk about Godzilla in bunches here today, especially because it's his 65th anniversary. And joining me, as always, is my right hand on a G show when it comes to Godzilla, my brother Chase Megzy. What's going on, G73?
No, man, absolutely. Birthdays, I mean, it's. I was just telling my mom the other day, it's great that I'm a Scorpio and Godzilla is too. That's probably why I relate to Godzilla so much.
Oh, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. Gams can't be on the podcast today because he had too much birthday cake. He's still celebrating and having a birthday hangover, if you will. But in the nicer sense, not in the bad, I did too much boozing type sense. But irregardless of that, listen, let's get into it. What Godzilla's 65th anniversary means to us. If you think about this, and honestly, we're just freestyling here. 65 years of Godzilla. Dude, that is an achievement. The fact that Godzilla is still in the public eye and relevant 65 years later when all this thing was, I mean, you want to say it was a smaller movie showing, a different side of science fiction / horror side, horrific side of what mankind is capable of, bringing when it comes to the nuclear age and the atomic bombs and what happens, what is the result, and the original 1954 Gojira nailed the aftermath of an atomic explosion, and they used Godzilla as the allegory, the atomic bomb, if you will. And I mean, it's to this day, it is absolutely, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Scrooge's Godzilla movies, because it's got to be number one. It's the first, and it's good. It's not like it sucks. It is a good, deep, thought-provoking movie. So I absolutely love that movie. It's my favorite. It is my favorite. Close behind it, really, real tight, real close. It's Godzilla 1985. I fucking love it. I love it. I watched it on my birthday, Chase. I watched Godzilla 1985 on my birthday. 2 days before Godzilla, I said, I gotta watch a Godzilla movie. I would put this on. We're gonna talk about that Criterion set in a minute too, because that came in the mail. I was so happy with that. But, what are your thoughts on Godzilla 1954, the original Gojira? How do you feel about that movie?
I mean, as every Godzilla fan, it's that one of those staples. It's obviously the staple of Godzilla movies, because it's the first one, and it became a cultural phenomenon. I don't have any problems with it, but however, it's definitely not a favorite of mine. Right. And I know I feel like every Godzilla fan religiously has to have the 54 film on their list somewhere. But I don't. I'm just one of those Godzilla fans that I've not discarded it. It's just not on my top 10 at all. It's not that I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's a great film. It's just it's not a movie that I go back to and watch like all the other Godzilla movies. I watch Godzilla versus Biollante maybe twice a month, or Godzilla or Mothra versus Godzilla from '64. More than I watch most Godzilla movies more than 1954. I watch maybe the first film maybe once a year. But like I said, it's not because I don't like it. It's just it doesn't pique my interest the way the other Godzilla movies do. But on 65 years of Godzilla himself being around, and Godzilla remaining still the longest franchise in history.
Say that again, brother. Say that again.
The Godzilla remaining the longest franchise in history, still walking amongst our streets and creating destruction. I think that's what's impressive, and I'm excited for 65 more. I think it's great. I'm very glad where Godzilla is right now. I'm interested, hopefully, when Toho comes around and does more live action films, they give us something spectacular. Because that's kind of a little bit long overdue, but I'm really happy with what Legendary's doing with Godzilla right now. I love the incarnation of Godzilla. I think TJ Storm plays a great Godzilla, and I'm happy. I'm excited to see where Godzilla goes from here. Godzilla versus Kong may be coming around right in the corner, so I guess we'd be excited for that.
I definitely won't. I definitely don't knock your hustle. I do agree with you said that it seems like every Godzilla's fan, the 54 movie has to be the number one with a bullet. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. That movie is all doom and gloom. There's really nothing happy about that movie, you know? It is it's a horror film. It's a horror film. So I get it's not everybody's cup of tea. Some people love the campiness of Godzilla, so 54 definitely won't be on there. They love the goofiness of, let's say, hell, no offense to you, but Godzilla versus Megalon. Hell, I fell in love with Godzilla, and one of the reasons,
Astro Monster.
Right, one of the reasons was because of Godzilla versus Megalon. I always loved the Ring of Fire with Godzilla and Jet Jaguar. I thought it was classic. Didn't hurt that Megalon and Gigan were two cool-looking kaiju. I was like, oh man, these things are awesome to look at. Like, I loved it, but yeah, so I totally get that. You know what I mean? And plus, Godzilla, I mean, throughout the career, throughout the years, there've been so many movies that actually like hits a chord. One of the movies I can't stand at all is Godzilla's Revenge. But when I got into, let's say, when the internet started rolling around and it became really popular, and there was a real big boom with social media especially, and you get to join all these groups on like Facebook and stuff like that. Godzilla's Revenge, people love that movie, and I'm like, why? That makes no sense to me. This movie's terrible. I mean, the only thing I liked about that movie was Gabara, and even then, I'm kind of like, you know. But as you get to know these people and you read the reasons why, it makes sense. You know, it is a movie about being picked on and bullied, and a lot of people, you know, maybe come from that type of background, and that Godzilla was their outlet. And in that regard, that movie captured that essence. You know what I mean? So in that regard,
definitely.
I can't knock them for that, and I can't be like, well, that movie sucks and you're dumb, because that's not the case. It's a reflection of how they felt, and they seen, oh my God, look, they're doing exactly what I feel. I respect that. You know what I mean? I have to watch that movie. It's been years/decades since I've seen that movie. And now that I got that Criterion collection, you best believe I'll be watching it soon.
I want to make a comment on that. I think Godzilla's Revenge is a movie that was way ahead of its time. Even, look, I don't care for Godzilla's Revenge myself. But the message and theme of that movie nowadays in today's society, with bullying being such a big thing, that movie has such a resonating theme to it. And I've noticed too, a lot of people take interest in that movie a lot more than I do, and I think that's great. But there is something about, you know, being bullied and picked on, and Godzilla is the iconic hero that kind of protects you and gives you strength and empowerment to overcome being bullied. And I think that's just the biggest message of that movie. was trying to present, and I think that's great. I think that there are messages in Godzilla movies for everyone, and Godzilla's Revenge, whether it be how you feel about it, I still think that message in that movie is beautiful, and I don't harp on people for liking it. You know, just like people that like Shin Godzilla.
I know we harp on those people though. We have to. We have to harp. It wouldn't be a Godzilla 65th anniversary without us saying, "Forget Shin Godzilla." But no, all that aside, I'm thinking about it now, and I'm actually interested in seeing how I respond to Godzilla's Revenge now, because of what that movie represents and how people see it. Because I'm telling you right now, as a kid, and I never got the bullying aspect of it. I was watching a monster movie. I never felt like the little kid, or even Minya for that matter, reflected how I felt. To me, I was like, I've seen this already in a Godzilla movie. I've seen all the stock footage stuff. I was like, I've seen that already. And that's why I say Gabara to me was cool, but at the end, I'm like, But now, as a grown-up, and again, decades removed from seeing it last, knowing what that movie's supposed to be about now, being an adult about it, I'm being honest, I'm not even going to deny me being a little ass about it, but being an adult about it, I want to see, and I'm not just going to, blow smoke up anybody's ass, I want to see how I react to this movie this go-around. How I feel now looking at it through a completely different lens. Something I never would have thought about until, the internet age and social media brought it to attention that, like you said, this is a very poignant movie for a lot of Godzilla fans. Yeah. So I'm intrigued by this now. Wow.
I think if anything, it'll probably get you a little bit more of a respect for the movie, if anything.
Oh, absolutely, because of the little bit of things that I do remember of that movie, besides stock footage. I could totally respect, because like once you read it the first time, like, well, the movie's about bullying and how people cope with it. I'm like, yeah, oh, you know what? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So in that regard, I do kind of respect, because it's not like just one person or two people that said it. There is a freaking huge amount of fans in this fandom, in the Godzilla fandom, who look at that movie like that as, no, this movie is good for this reason. So in that regards, when you think about it, I'm like, yeah, I do respect that. I respect that it worked for them in that regard. But for me, I really can't wait to watch that movie again and see how I react now, a grown-up in his 40s. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So absolutely.
That is going to be a very interesting review podcast when we start doing these Godzilla reviews, which really I wish. My goal initially, ladies and gentlemen, was to have that going right now. But again, everybody's birthday is within 2 weeks of each other. So it's like scheduling
That's
conflicts.
Really interesting that we share it with like Godzilla.
Exactly. And by default, I got to say, being the closest birthday to Godzilla without being on Godzilla's birthday, I got to say, and to my own horn, I feel pretty damn good about that. Thank you, big guy. I love you. Smooch. So, over the years, though, the other day I read, and I'm like jumping all over the place. The other day I read this really cool article that I posted up on a G Show page about Godzilla Raids Again. And it really caught my attention because it's exactly how I feel. I know Godzilla Raids Again is not amongst people's favorite Godzilla movie, but I loved what they were talking about. Like, this really wasn't trying to be a sequel per se, and it made so much sense. So, without getting into details of that article, because I read that on Monday, and this is being recorded on Thursday, and I forgot a lot about it, I will say that is one of my favorites. I don't know if it's top 5, definitely top 10. What are your thoughts on that movie?
On Raids Again?
Raids Again, yes.
Raids Again, see, that's what's funny is I'll watch Raids Again. That's a hard one because I remember as a kid, I loved it because of the fight with Anguirus, and I loved the idea of the snow and the ice caps and stuff like that. But there are things about that movie that bother me dialogue-wise, and as a kid, black and white stuff, anything black and white kind of bothered me a lot.
Right.
And I'm very sensitive to certain colors. And so, like, black and white, sharp colors like yellow, like The Simpsons, stuff like that. That stuff kind of bothers me. So I tried to stay away from movies like that. But anyways, the Raids Again, that was a movie that I also did not watch a lot. I watched probably more... No, I maybe watched that one a couple times, but I definitely watched 54 more than that one. But it again, it's one of those movies that movie had such a really sad ending.
Yeah,
it was really sad, with his friend, committing suicide, but Toho was kind of doing that in like a trek, it just seemed like maybe that's what they were doing. It looked like Toho was trying to let's do our movies with very sad endings. And, King of the Monsters, very sad ending, Raids Again, another sad ending. But then, when Godzilla versus Kong came around, it didn't necessarily have that much of a sad ending, but it still where that movie came forward after Raids Again. That's one of the main things that grabbed me towards Raids Again, was because when Godzilla comes out of the ice in King Kong versus Godzilla. But that movie, it's again not one of my favorites. It's the dialogue bothers me, especially when they say like banana oil and stuff like that, but it's one of those movies that I respect, and there are some really cool sequences with Godzilla in it, and but there's things like also, I couldn't stand that Godzilla didn't have Godzilla's roar and stuff in that movie. He sounded like Anguirus quite a bit. And so I had issues with that. But, other than that, for the moments of it that are in it, for what it was, not a bad movie.
Chase, let me tell you something. I know where we're going now. Remember, so ladies and gentlemen, just to bring you on the inside, before we start recording, we're all like, if we don't have a topic, what are we going to do? Well, we'll freestyle, because usually when we freestyle, something hits and we just go. Chase... We're doing the 65 because it's the 65th anniversary. We're doing Godzilla's filmography. We're gonna do them in small increments, 2 or 3 minutes a pop. Let's get down to it. So that was your take on Godzilla Raids Again.
Raids Again.
We did Gojira. We did Raids Again. We already did Revenge. Well, let's keep it in order. King Kong versus Godzilla. There's a movie that's supposed to come out next year. We still haven't seen the trailer. Looking. Somebody dropped the ball with Godzilla 65th. I won't say any names, and I'm not going to say I'm salty, but let me tell you something. Call me the Pacific Ocean. But King Kong versus Godzilla 1962, the first time the big G's in color, and he's going up against none other than the gigantic ape made famous in America, who was also his first time in color. Think about that for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Toho brought Godzilla and King Kong to beautiful color for the first time ever, and they fought, they sparred. Now, I love this movie because of Thanksgiving. It reminds me of Thanksgiving every time, and Thanksgiving is my holiday because, you get fat, and I love being fat. But the movie's a comedy. Make no mistakes about it. I watched this movie not too long ago, probably over the summer, and I couldn't stop laughing. It's a goofy movie. I love it still to this day. I don't hate this movie. I love all the cheesy goofiness of this movie, and it's a completely different tone from the previous 2 Godzilla films. So, thumbs up on this one. Of course, we'll go into more in-depth when we do our reviews of each film. But right now, we're just going to go through each movie and do as quick as possible. Chase, King Kong versus Godzilla, 1962.
Basically, everything you said about it, that movie makes me laugh so much. I also, one of my favorite characters is the sponsor guy. wants to sponsor Kong. That guy is such a buffoon, man. I love him, but I also like the sailor guy. I think his name was Kono.
Kono?
Yeah, Kono.
The one that looked like Gilligan?
The Gilligan's Island looking dude.
I love him.
Yeah, that dude just kills me. But no, man, that movie, that was a good example, and it's funny because that was a proof that a comedy Godzilla movie could work.
Yeah.
That movie was perfect. I mean, of course, not perfect, but it was funny, and the action sequences in it were great and suspenseful. And as a kid, I felt, I really felt when the monsters were around. I felt that tension, but I just loved it. That movie was fun. It was funny. That is on one of my favorite lists.
I'll tell you right now, you said something about the fights and how to this day, that scene with King Kong and Godzilla fighting at, not Osaka, wherever the castle was, that castle they were fighting right on top of and breaking it down, that to me is like still one of the greatest shots I've ever seen on film. I absolutely love that. As a kid, I was like, that is so amazing. It is so cool. And yeah, to this day, that is a standout in film for me. I love King Kong versus Godzilla. I have no problems. Now, let's move on to the next one, which you've already said how you feel about it. But from two darker toned movies to an insanely, turnabout, a comedy with, America's #1 monster and now Japan's #1 monster fighting, and it turns into a comedy. It goes back to basics with Godzilla, with Mothra versus Godzilla. 1964. It goes back to basics. This is Godzilla's bad again. He's like, Godzilla was evil in King Kong versus Godzilla. Make no mistakes about that. But this was a more serious movie, a more serious tone. To me, I'm always gonna call it Godzilla versus the Thing because that's how it was always advertised on television growing up. But this is by far, if you're gonna rank the movies through their individual series, this is by far top 3 Showa movies, maybe top 2. It might be the second one. This one is fantastic, from the Godzilla suit to the score to everything. I love this movie. This one definitely gets thumbs up for me. What do you think?
No, it's one of it probably is my favorite Showa. I love that movie a lot. I remember watching it as a kid so many times. I remember renting it from Hollywood Videos and Blockbuster, and I would pop it in, and I would watch the movie, and I would wait all the way till the end of the credits. So Toho would show all their Godzilla toys and all their trailers and stuff at the end. They had like this tribute to Godzilla that showed other movies at the end of it and stuff, and I just loved it, and I remember the nostalgia from that movie. But that movie to me has one of my favorite Godzilla designs. I love the 64 design.
Yeah.
I love his opening where he pops out of the dirt. I would reenact that with my toys. I'd bury my Godzilla toys in dirt, have them pop out of the dirt, and then have like little people run away from them and stuff. But I love that scene. I thought that was great. I love that, like, also Godzilla's a little bit clumsy in the movie, but I love that too. All the parts with Godzilla, I ate up as a kid, especially when the military's fighting him and he catches on fire and stuff like that.
So good.
That was just some of the greatest stuff that I've seen. And then just Mothra as a whole. I love that whole arc with Mothra. I thought it was great. And, definitely my favorite Showa movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It is one of the top-notch Godzilla movies. And if you're watching this podcast, and there's no way in hell you're watching this podcast and have never seen this movie, but then on the off chance you never seen that 1964 Mothra versus Godzilla, or in our case Godzilla versus Thing, do yourself a favor, go do it. You can get it. It's easy to get. Just get it, watch it. It's awesome, fantastic. Also in 1964, Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monsters. Now, listen, I know we're talking about Godzilla, and it's a Godzilla movie because Godzilla is in it. And it introduces Godzilla's greatest foe. I don't care what nobody says. It's not Mechagodzilla. It's not Destroyer. It is King Ghidorah. Thus, its longevity. But Ghidorah the three-headed monsters. Now this is another one. It is up there. This is a top 5 movie for me. If we're gonna do Showa, definitely top 5, possibly top 3. Okay, it's absolutely unbelievable. I love the atmosphere of the movie, but the most important part of this movie that I love, Chase, do you know where I'm going with this one?
The aliens.
Rodan! The aliens is in the next one. Rodan! Rodan is in this movie.
Rodan wasn't your favorite.
What? No, Rodan.
I'm giving you shit.
Me and Chase gonna box it out. Rodan's in this movie. Godzilla versus Rodan. Come on, you can't get any better than that. You know, if you watch this podcast, you know how I feel about Rodan. Rodan for life. I love you so much. Rodan. But all of that aside, the movie's dope. The atmosphere is dope. This movie drives me bonkers every time I watch it because I love it so much. I'm like, wow. This is what we were getting back in 1964. Why can't we get this here in 2019? I don't understand. I love this movie, Chase. What about you?
Another movie that I love a lot. It's funny that we're getting into these because my favorite Showa movies are like the next 3 or the next 2 after Godzilla versus Mothra, or Mothra versus Godzilla. But another movie that I liked a lot. It made me laugh a lot too. I love the fight with, like, when Godzilla and Rodan are just picking on each other and they're kicking rocks at each other, and Mothra comes and is like, "You dumb idiot, stop, fighting." And then, the twins are translating what the monsters are saying, and like, "Oh wow, what horrible language!" They're cursing at each other and stuff. And that's just one of my. It's just funny, man. It's not, to me, it's not really the factor of it being cheesy. It's the fact that it's unique and its own. Yeah. Like, it's just humorous. Like, there's monsters that are cursing at each other, adding human elements and expressions to them. I just think is great. And that's one thing that I love a lot about monsters, human-esque stuff that we can relate to, but that movie in its whole, I love the idea of everything about it. I love the idea of the Martian and her being brainwashed and stuff like that. And King Ghidorah was
wait. I just want to interject. I love the idea of the Martian because she is absolutely gorgeous. Mwah.
Yeah, she was one of my favorites too. But King Ghidorah, the shot where King Ghidorah is destroying that historic monument and stuff, right. In Japan, establishing King Ghidorah for the first time was very riveting because you see a monster of this power and size, and it's like he's bad. He's meant to be Godzilla's arch nemesis. I don't care what anyone says. King Ghidorah is in fact Godzilla's arch enemy. Yeah. He is what the Joker is to Batman. He is the evil doer. It's not Mechagodzilla. It's not Destroyer. It's not Space Godzilla. It's not Violante. Of course, it is King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah will always be the enemy to Godzilla.
Absolutely. And you know what? We talk about classic scenes, classic moments. The birth of King Ghidorah in this movie is by far the greatest birth of King Ghidorah in any of in the entire franchise. Coming out of that is still to this day, that is such a shocking awe shot. I love it to death. I love it. Can't get enough of that. Invasion of the Astro Monster 1965, or as we know it, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. Oh boy! Now we're getting there, brother. Now we're getting there, because here's the deal. This is actually, I love this movie. I love this movie. But it's actually the first movie where I loved it so much as a kid, as an adult, I don't find it quite as entertaining anymore. I still love it. Like, I can't find anything negative to nitpick at. Because, I mean, come on, man. Like, we go to space and we go to Planet X. And King Ghidorah left Earth because Godzilla and Rodan and Mothra kicked his ass out of there. And you get the freaking Exilians for the first time. Like, just a crazy cool design, first off. But then the idea, we're going to cure all your diseases if you just give us your monsters to kill this thing. And then it's mind control. This is actually the first time mind control was utilized on the monsters. And, you know, the idea of they have to use the machine that the inventor invented to oh man, all of that stuff. You know what? Screw that shit. No, this is actually one of my favorite. Top 5, absolutely. Good God Almighty. 3 in a row, top 5. I can't deal with it. I can't wait to watch this one again too. It's absolutely one of my favorites. I love the idea. I love the aesthetic. I love the aliens. They still, to this day, my favorite aliens of anything. I'm not just talking Godzilla. These are my favorite human-looking aliens of all time. I love their suits. I love the design. 2 thumbs up. Chase.
No, man. Out of the 2 King Ghidorah movies of these ones, this one's my favorite. This one's my favorite out of those 2. Invasion of Astro Monster. That was the one I watched so much as a kid. It entertained me so much, and I just love the whole premise of it. Godzilla and Rodan going to a planet, and having to fight off King Ghidorah on a planet, and then you wonder, like, how the hell can they survive in space? And the 2 main actors of that movie, I believe it's Akira Takarada, and the one guy that plays Glenn. I don't remember his name. Oh, it's Nick something.
Nick Adams.
Nick Adams, yeah, he was like Elvis's best friend, Elvis Presley's best friend, and or one of his best friends, but they were really close together. But anyways, that's a whole another tidbit. But anyways, I like that movie. Those actors to me were very, very entertaining. I loved their character arc. I thought they were really cool characters playing together. I was glad that they were like the main characters of that movie. But I just remember as a kid, my favorite part of that whole movie is when they're fishing them out of the lake. Oh. They're fishing Godzilla and Rodan out and stuff, and the UFOs get Godzilla out of the water and stuff like that. And like it just, I seen a resin statue of that, and I want it so bad. I want that statue of the UFO holding on to Godzilla and stuff out of the lake and everything. That's one of my favorite parts of that movie, man.
You talk about classic scenes in Godzilla movies. That is another one. You are absolutely right.
I remember I was watching this one movie, and I think why I liked it so much, or liked that movie that much, was because there's this one dinosaur movie I used to watch, and I don't remember what it was called. I think it was just called Dinosaurs. And they have the main opening scene is them fishing out these frozen dinosaurs. And I don't know if that was a homage to Invasion of Astro Monster or what, but I signify with those scenes so much, and I love that movie a lot because of that. And so, Invasion of Astro Monster, the music in that movie, I love the part, when they're trying to, get rid of destroy the UFOs at the end, and the music that's playing,
Yes.
It was just, that movie was just fun. I enjoy it.
What a fantastic film. What is next? Oh, Ibra, Horror of the Deep. Now, this is crazy. You think about it. These 3 Godzilla movies are kind of self-contained in the sense that Godzilla is not in any of the titles. You have Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Invasion of Astro Monster, and Ibra, Horror of the Deep. Yet, all 3 of these movies feature Godzilla. Yet, this particular movie was supposed to be King Kong fighting Ibra, which makes a lot of sense because Ibra is really not that big of a threat. No offense to anybody who loves that character, or Facebook and whatever social media pages use the moniker Ibra. All I'm saying is this was initially King Kong. Speaking of, where's King Kong? Where's that? No, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into that. We're talking about Godzilla. Ibra, Horror of the Deep. This movie, I used to watch as a kid, well, also known as Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. This is the way I like to call it. It's a unique film. I like the idea of, I think they had the berry juice in this one too, or some kind of a weird juice thing or berry thing.
Yeah, they had, but it was like a yellow type juice.
Yeah, and you could see all the elements that they would use. They basically swapped Godzilla in for Kong, because all of this was Kong, from Awakening Godzilla with lightning. And this is where I was like, holy crap, because how dope would it be if it was Kong, and it's a continuation of King Kong versus Godzilla. Lightning made him stronger, blah, 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 wakes him up. I'm all for it. 2 thumbs up, maybe not, but I don't hate this movie. It's not a crap movie. It's fun. It's cool. I can dig it. What about you?
One thing I want to add, it would have been really interesting to see if they kept Mothra in it and Kong and Mothra team up.
Oh my God,
interesting.
Got all about Mothra at the end. Wow.
But that was an Era of the Deep, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. I remember as a kid, I really wanted this movie because of the cover of the art on the VHS, and it was like Godzilla pulling a giant lobster out of the ocean.
Yeah, it was a dope cover, bro.
I had fun with that movie. It's just, as an adult now, it's hard to watch any of the Showa movies that have too much stock footage, just because it just repetition, and I can sense half-ass and laziness stuff. It just bothers me. But the idea of that movie, my favorite part of the movie is when Godzilla's unleashed on the island and he's attacking the military base. That makes up the whole movie for me. And then, like, when they're on Mothra and they're trying to tell Godzilla to jump off the island and stuff like that, or it's going to explode and kill him, and they do that part, like, always, like, hits me heavy, because it's like, you know, Godzilla's this benevolent monster that is sometimes hated, but the humans are like, we're grateful that you saved us, but get off the island. That part always hits me in the softies. So
great. That's a great point. Great moment, brother.
I dig that film a lot. But again, it's not one of my favorites. But I enjoyed it. It was a fun one.
All right, you ready for the next one? Because we could probably breeze right by this one. Son of Godzilla, 1967. Son of Godzilla. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest with you. I think I've seen this movie 3 times in my entire life. I'm not even lying when I say that. And they were all on TV. It's not because I don't like this movie. It is the absolute worst Godzilla suit, hands down. Shin Godzilla. That wasn't a real suit though. That was all CG. I don't know. I can't wait to actually watch this movie. And yes, I own it now. And I have the Criterion collection. I could totally get it and put it on. But I want to do everything in order and do the reviews so they're fresh in my head as soon as I watch it. Let's get this going, So, the 4th time in my entire life I'm going to watch this movie is probably 8-9 weeks from now. You know what I mean? So, I ain't got nothing to say other than I love the introduction of Kamacuras. I love the introduction of Spiger or Kumonga, whatever you want to call it. And the ending, you talk about classic shots in Godzilla movies. The thing that always stuck with me in that movie, even though I watched it 3 times, is Godzilla hugging his son while they were being buried under the snow. Absolutely gorgeous shot. It's very poignant. It hits hard. It hits hard in the heart. I love it. Chase.
That's another movie. Again, not a favorite of mine. I actually watched it quite a bit as a kid, but, I have issues with that movie because of that ending where he's hugging his kid, because it makes me so emotional. I just don't like it. But I love the message that it personifies, because, God, that was Godzilla's son. And, he's, I guess it was like Godzilla was accepting his son, even though, his son's a dork, I know that's not really the main message of that movie. I know it's about accepting your kids and stuff like that. But there are some qualities in that movie that I liked scene wise. I like the parts where they're shooting the balloons and stuff. Or the balloons explode by Godzilla and stuff, and the island native, she feeds the oranges to baby Godzilla and stuff like that. Or the fruit.
Yeah, I remember that part.
And it had some funny moments, when like Godzilla's teaching him how to use his atomic breath and stuff like that, and he steps on baby Godzilla's tail. That stuff, makes me laugh a lot. But again, Godzilla's design, that suit was very strange. I don't know why they made it look like a frog. It wasn't my favorite. I didn't care about it that much. But it was but the fights with Kamacuras and Kumonga, I thought those were really cool. I thought it was interesting and unique, but as a movie of its whole, it's not one of my favorites.
Gotcha. Well, I can't wait to revisit it real soon, about 8-9 weeks. Now we get to the granddaddy. Here we go. Ready, Chase? 1968's Destroy All Monsters. Holy crap. This is the second movie in film history, I say it like this, to feature a cast of characters coming together from different films to make a movie. Let's not make no mistake about it. Universal did it first with the classic Universal monsters. Even though it wasn't there, it was just Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman. It would have been great if, let's say, the Mummy and the Invisible Man, the Gill Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, would have been in it. Monster Squad. But this is like the first legit Avengers-style movie. It had every freaking monster Toho has put out at this particular time, with the exception, I think, of the Gargantuas. Oh, Mechagodzilla didn't come out yet.
Never mind. Mechagodzilla wasn't introduced yet. My bad.
So I'm thinking just like the Gargantuas was introduced at this time, if I'm not mistaken, and Frankenstein, and because absolutely, because Baragon's in this movie, and Baragon is Frankenstein's nemesis. So yeah, those movies happen. So Frankenstein and the Gargantuas are like the only three monsters that aren't in this movie. And anybody says giant condor, we're gonna have a problem. Okay, we're not gonna say giant condor. Just shut your heads.
You mean the giant bird? Oh, okay, never mind.
But okay, so Destroy All Monsters.
Is that the bird Godzilla roasts with his atomic breath and just kills it?
Yeah, and the sea monster doesn't show up. Sorry, Ibra.
That's true.
Apologies. But pretty much every other thing does, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Kamacuras don't, but Kumonga does. Anyhow, I am going to go on record right now and say, wait for my review.
What about Varan? Was that later?
Yeah, Varan is in there. No, Varan is in there. He's a small bit part. He flies away at the end.
Okay. It's been so while since I've seen that movie.
I watched it this year, if not this year, because this year is coming to an end, then the end of 2018. So I have...
Oh, never mind. I was wrong. I got it last Christmas, actually, and I watched it when I got it that night. But I haven't watched it since.
All I'm going to say about this movie is, when we get to this point, and we're going to do our reviews, yes. And that's it. That's all I'm saying. But Chase, what do you think of Destroy All Monsters? The pinnacle of the Toho franchise at this moment.
As a kid, I loved the idea of all the monsters on an island and stuff like that. And, King Ghidorah coming by, being the big baddie again. But in all honesty, at that point, I was kind of getting tired of King Ghidorah. I felt like, all right, it's the same thing. King Ghidorah is going to try and do the same thing as he did last time, take over the world. And I got kind of bored with it. So that's one thing. But, I love as a kid, I enjoyed Monster Island. And that movie made Monster Island a thing, a famous thing within the Godzilla world. And, my favorite part of the movie, though, is when all the monsters they're doing their different attacks on the city, and it goes to different scenes and stuff like that. But other than that, I'll wait till our review too.
Perfect. Next movie, All Monsters Attack, 1969, or Godzilla's Revenge. We kind of both said our piece on that earlier in this thing, so we're going to skip over that and get to the real fun, okay? Let's get to the trippy. This is where everybody started doing drugs. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not promote doing drugs in no way, shape, form, fashion. But, you do you. 1971, Godzilla versus Ghidorah, or as I grew up and will forever call it, Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I'm done.
Me too.
We could call the podcast here, brother. I'm just gonna walk away. Because I'll tell you, as a kid, I had no idea what the hell the psychedelic meant. All I knew was this was the first time that I'm watching Godzilla get his ass kicked on some legit Godzilla's about to die freaky stuff. It was nuts. It was nuts. There were people getting smacked with sludge and turning into skeletons. People were dying in this movie, and they were showing it. There was people with fish heads. I can't. This movie's a trip. I absolutely love it. Make no mistake about that. Chase.
No, same way, man. You know, it's of course the scene that sticks out with me the most is when the kid's playing with his Godzilla toys. You know, on the slide. You know, I love that scene because I wanted all those Godzilla toys,
Hell
and I remember pausing it and going to my parents and being like, "I want all of these," and they're like, "You already have all of those," and I threw a fit. I was like, "No, I don't." And but that movie I watched a lot. I watched a ton as a kid. I love that movie. I still love that movie. But that movie's dark. And it's so messed up. And not a lot of people understand how dark and messed up it is. That movie was a trip. And it's just great. You know, and Godzilla takes a beating in that movie. You know, it reminds me almost of like Gamera 3. You know, that's how bad of a beating Godzilla took. He lost an eye and part of his hand. I mean, Godzilla got his ass whooped in that movie. But then the movie ruins it with him flying away.
Come on!
But however, I don't care about that because Godzilla's done a lot of quirky shit. But that was just the ribbon on the whole bow. You know, the whole present was Godzilla flying away like that. But you know, I digress. It's still a good movie. I still enjoy that movie a lot. That movie had a great bunch of characters that you get invested in and then just die.
Right.
I mean, that's what was messed up. This main character you're following through most of the movie just dies. And you're like, what? But good movie. I'll never turn down a time to watch it. I dig it.
I can't. You're absolutely right too. Because every time I watch that movie, I go, "Huh? Does that dude die?" It's that movie and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. We'll get into that in a bit. But every time I watch both of those movies, I'm like, "Hey, do I remember this correctly? Does this dude die?" And I mean, Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. I watched the shit out of that movie. Like I've seen that movie a lot of times. You know what movie I haven't seen a lot of times though, Chase?
Biollante.
No. The next movie, Godzilla vs. Gigan, 1972. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I've seen shit Godzilla more times than I've seen Godzilla vs. Gigan. Okay? Look, I've seen Son of Godzilla more than I've seen Godzilla vs. Gigan. And I've seen that movie, I think 3 times. So I must have only seen Godzilla vs. Gigan twice. And it upsets me. Because back in the day, classic media, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that was the right word. The book company, there was a book company that had all of these different monsters. They had King Kong, they had Godzilla, they had Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, all that, the Mummy. They had it. It was an orange and black and white book I got from the library. Never gave it back. And in that book was Godzilla, Anguirus, King Ghidorah, and Gigan, that I'd never seen Gigan unless I seen him in Godzilla vs. Megalon. So I was like, what the hell is this picture? What is going on? I didn't comprehend. I didn't know what it was. Did not know there was a Godzilla vs. Gigan. I thought Gigan came from Godzilla vs. Megalon. Had no clue. So I was excited when I found out that this was an actual movie. And I hate it. Hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom. I can't stand this movie. I can't stand this movie. And I gotta watch it again for the sake of doing a review. But I'm gonna tell you, and you know what the crazy part is, Chase? I own the Kraken releasing copy, and I never opened it. So here's looking forward to watching.
You have the Showa collection too, so you have multiple copies of it.
Exactly. Go figure that out, right? Well, who would have known we would have gotten this beautiful thing? Anyhow, I have to watch it eventually. It's going to get watched. Chase, what are your feelings on Godzilla vs.
I don't like it.
Hey, Chase, come on.
This movie, I don't know what it is. And it has nothing. Well, it has everything to do with Godzilla and Anguirus, but that movie put such a weird taste in my mouth and in my mind that I'm like I get disgusted watching it, and I don't know what it is, but I cannot sit down and watch it in peace. I feel uncomfortable. I just have issues watching it, and I don't know what it is, and I wish I did, but I just can't. So I don't watch it.
It's the cockroaches. It's the cockroaches, bro.
Dude, I think it's just the whole theme of that movie just is weird, just bothers me. It's boring. I think that's what it is. It really bores the hell out of me.
Well,
so
I can't wait to see what. I don't like the movie, but I can't wait to see what new reasons why I can't stand this movie arise when I watch it again. But make no mistake, number 13, the 13th film in Godzilla's franchise, lucky number 13, also happens to coincide with my good buddy G73. Godzilla versus Megalon, ladies and gentlemen. You can say what you want about this movie, but I'm telling you right now, that 6-7-year-old kid who saw that movie for the first time, I might have been 5 actually, absolutely loves this film. Even to this day, this movie goes down as one of my all-time favorite Godzilla movies. It was the first Godzilla movie I ever owned. You got Jet Jaguar, Super Duper Robot, Ultraman. Who's that? Get out of here. I didn't even know who that was yet. Godzilla looked fantastic. I loved the look. Godzilla did the damn kangaroo kick. Come on, he did this. All I'm saying is thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. If I had 3 hands, 4 hands, it'd be 4 thumbs up. Chase, it is your movie. It is your
yeah. I like Megalon a lot. That movie, that was another movie I watched a lot as a kid. I love the beginning scene where the kid's in the lake and then there's like the whirlpool. They have to get him out. And I love the idea of the toy maker and Jet Jaguar and stuff, and you know, and Godzilla just being this ultimate badass. You know, coming to save the day. And the thing is, just, I love the movies with the unique looking monsters. So yeah. Megalon was one of those creatures that I'm like, man, this guy is really cool looking, you know.
And he had double offensive weaponry, which I loved. He had the Corona beam from the horn, and he had a napalm bomb that he sped out. I love that.
Yeah, he definitely was to me. Like he, you know, I felt like him and Gigan are like the, you know, they were good villain buddies. They were a good team up. Because in some ways they're similar, in some ways they're not, and I dig that, you know. And I loved it, man, as a kid. And then Godzilla and Jet Jaguar teaming up, you know, it was just a fun time, you know. I just remember, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to go into details, but it was a fun movie.
I just can't wait for us to do this review. When this review comes around, this is going to be so much fun. But I will say, yes, the little boy in the beginning, like you said, caught in a whirlpool. The whirlpool itself scared the crap out of me as a kid. Oh my God! And the kid is screaming, "Help me! Hurry up, help!" And I'm like, help him, please help him. It freaked me out. But you know what was cool about that scene? The kid was on this dope-ass dolphin float thing. I was like, why can't we have that here, Mom? Fuck. I love it.
As a kid, that was a thing that made me interested a lot, too. I was like, where do I get one of those? Because I would rock the community pool in that thing.
Seriously. From the opening sequence with that and the whirlpool draining the lake to the very end where you have the awesome Godzilla Jet Jaguar song, game over, bro. Punch, punch, punch. Number. I'll get to that later 3 maybe. But next up, we got to talk about this because this is the honestly this movie messed me up, and then I watched it July. I will tell you the exact date. 9th, July 9th was the last time I watched this movie. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, 1974. My God, man, when I tell you the idea of having a robot Mechagodzilla after so many years of seeing a Mechanicon, this blew my mind when I saw Terror of Mechagodzilla, because I didn't get to see Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla until almost 10 years after I saw Terror of Mechagodzilla. So when I saw it, believe you me when I say, holy crap. But when I watched it recently, July 9th, I was like, ugh, holy crap. So that's where I'll stand with that. Wait for my reviews for further in-depth details. Chase.
No, man. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. That was another movie to me that I watched a lot as a kid. I remember I was trying to look for it recently, and my friend had it. It was like the only Godzilla movie he had, and I kept looking everywhere and kept only finding it for like $600 anywhere I could find it. And I picked it up, and I only bought it from him for $20.
Sweet.
And so I was excited because the only Godzilla movie I am missing in my collection is Son of Godzilla. Unless you count the animes, but I don't think anyone can buy the animes unless you're in Japan.
Yeah, right.
But I love that movie, King Caesar. You are probably the main thing in that movie that I like a lot. I also like it when Mechagodzilla breaks Anguirus' jaw, even though I feel sad every time I see it. But to me, the main thing of that movie that I like a lot is when Godzilla comes back, Super Saiyan, and just wrecks and turns into a magnet, and Mechagodzilla has no chance. And that's the type of stuff I will want to mention on a side note. I love a lot because I'm sick and tired of Godzilla needing help from monsters and people. I want to go back to the time where Godzilla could defeat things on his own without any help. And that was a time where Godzilla went and got power from nature, and I mean, King Caesar was there to help, but he didn't do much. But Godzilla ripped off Mechagodzilla's head. He did that, and that was great, and I was so happy with that. And that's the stuff that I like, and yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
That's a perfect segue into the next and last entry of this particular podcast, because I've got an idea that's formulating in my head, and I'm going to wrap this up after this. Terror of Mechagodzilla. Now, Chase said he wants to go back to when Godzilla just didn't need anybody, and granted, there might have been a helicopter that shot sound waves into Titanosaurus. It doesn't matter, because it was just Godzilla in this movie against not one but two foes, and one of the foes was probably, at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, his most powerful foe. Yes, if King Ghidorah is Godzilla's greatest enemy, make no mistake, at this point in time, Mechagodzilla is Godzilla's most powerful enemy. No mistake about it. Godzilla gets his ass handed to him in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla gets his ass handed to him again in Terror of Mechagodzilla, but he comes out on top. Let me tell you something. This is by far, this is in my top 5. This is one of my absolute favorite Godzilla movies of all time. It was the first Godzilla movie I ever seen on VHS. I had no idea that Mechagodzilla was a thing. My father brought it home one day from the video store. He rented that along with Pinocchio. Yep, that's how old it was. And I was like, what the hell is Terror of Mechagodzilla? And I watched it, and I watched it again. Because I just could not leave it at that. Was what is this? What is this? And not only that, the fact that was the end of the Showa series is all I need to know. So all I'm saying is, Terror of Mechagodzilla, when we get into that review, because I watched that movie this year too. I watched that movie this year, and to me it holds up. I love it absolutely. Chase.
As a kid, I watched this movie so much. I remember when I was having like any surgeries, my doctors would be like, bring a movie or this or that you can watch. I remember when I was getting allergy tested, the doctor's like, bring a movie to watch while we, do the testing and stuff like that. I watched Terror of Mechagodzilla during this time, and it was, as a kid, I loved that movie a lot. That was a movie that I actually didn't know existed. I actually had that set that gave me all the Harryhausen dinosaur movies and stuff like that, and all these other type of dinosaurs movies. They had this big compilation of monster movies, and Godzilla, the Terror of Mechagodzilla, had a trailer or a talk, like a little 5-minute thing in that movie, and that's how I figured out how that movie was a thing. And I went from there and got it and loved it. I loved the opening scene where Godzilla, sniper shoots his atomic breath at Titanosaurus right in the beginning there. That's my favorite scene, that whole movie. The music and the scene of that was just great. That movie also tripped me out because I was afraid of the people from the black hole. They kind of scared me a little bit. They were very mysterious. That movie's interesting as a whole. It's like a murder mystery type sci-fi monster film, and it's really interesting. And Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla teaming up. Now, that was a force to be reckoned with as well. Absolutely. And I would love to see Titanosaurus come back in Legendary's universe.
I would not be mad to see that at all. He makes perfect sense for that universe. And I want to say that was Ishiro Honda's last Godzilla movie. And when you start off a franchise one way and end a series another way, there's nothing but, hey, you're the GOAT of this. You're the GOAT, Ishiro Honda. You are the GOAT of the kaiju movies, and I know you have plenty of other things under your belt, but as far as my love and this franchise is concerned, you, Ishiro Honda, I love you to death. Thank you so much.
That's why that ending is also so emotional when Godzilla's in the water going away, and the music, it shouldn't be emotional, but they definitely, the tone and everything makes it emotional.
Yeah, this is it.
I have a soft spot for that movie.
I absolutely do too. I mean, like, you think about what the director did with the beginning of Godzilla, and then where we end up with the last Godzilla movie, him fighting a mechanical version of himself and winning, and then just it's the end, and he leaves. And yeah, listen. That's gonna do it for part 1 of our Godzilla's 65th anniversary journey. We will be back with part 2. I want to do it this way, okay? We're gonna come back part 2 with the Heisei saga. Oh, you have no idea, people. Get ready. Buckle your safety belts. But I wanted to do it like this because the Criterion Collection did just come out just in time for Godzilla's 65th. And it was only the Showa movies. And I think this is a perfect way to put a bow on this podcast. Part 1 of our honoring of Godzilla and his 65th anniversary, his 65th birthday. We do the Showa. Next week we'll do the Heisei. Maybe Gam Gams is with us. He should be. And then we do the Millennium and onward and so forth. But yeah, that'll do it. The Criterion Collection. I have not watched any of the movies yet. I will get around to it because we will be doing these reviews. But I just want to say, hey, Brother Chase, thank you for being on the show with me today.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And I want to thank everybody out there for listening in. Seriously, when we don't know what we're doing and then all of a sudden an idea sparks, we don't stop. So thank you all out there for listening to the Godzilla Block Party. I am G1, and we out of here. Peace.